Good afternoon, Cameron University. This week in SGA, senators and representatives approved the first pieces of legislation of the year. Senator Ryan Faucett is here with us, and we have the scoop on new legislation that just might bring students more parking on campus. All this and more coming up on This Week in SGA. Government committees were formed. There will be 4 main committees in place to help the organization run smoothly. The 4 committees include the Finance Committee, the Election Committee, the Legislative Committee, and the Public Relations Committee. The Finance Committee is responsible for reviewing applications from organizations for distribution funds, and the Election Committee is responsible for handling elections and upholding election policies and procedures. The Legislative Committee is responsible for meeting once a week to review and approve legislation before it hits the floor. Finally, the Public Relations Committee is responsible for making sure the campus stays informed about what is going on in SGA. They will do this by publishing a bi-weekly newsletter. The Public Relations Committee is a new addition to the original 3. Senators and representatives are not required to serve on any committee, but are encouraged to volunteer. This week, the first 2 pieces of legislation of the year went into second reading and passed. One of those pieces was presented by Senior Senator Ryan Faucett, calling for ownership of University Drive. Welcome, Ryan. We're really glad to have you today.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
Now, we've known each other for a long time, so we've kind of got this comfortable relationship going on. And you've been involved in SGA for 4 years?
Yeah, this is my 4th year. Kind of took a little break during my 2nd year, but realized that I really liked it, so I came back for 3rd and 4th year.
Now, talk a little bit about this legislation. I mean, it went in the first reading last week. It passed yesterday. So what is it about? Yeah,
well, this is something that Daniel and I have kind of been talking about, and Zeke kind of had some input too. We wanted to kind of have responsibility of University Drive because it is the main road that runs through our campus, and we call it University Drive. It kind of only makes sense for it to be owned by the university, but so we wrote some legislation just calling for Cameron to take the steps necessary to get it from Lawton, whatever it takes, because right now we don't own it. There's a problem with the roads on the corner of Elsingham Drive and University Drive, and so we want to kind of fix that. And anything else that we might want to do in the future, we need to be able to own it before we can actually do any construction on it.
Now, I've fallen in some potholes down that end of the road before, so
we all have.
I totally agree with the legislation. So you just want to own the road so we can fix it and then do anything else to it.
Yeah, it was a real simple piece of legislation. It just called for us to take the steps necessary to do that. And I mean, it is necessary for us to fix the road, but we also wanted to own it just so that we can kind of say, this is truly becoming our campus. We're helping kind of give Cameron a better name. We're kind of building us up these days, and we're trying to make Cameron a better university. One of those steps, I believe, is to own that road.
And it passed yesterday, so the whole organization kind of really liked it. What were some of the things that did they have suggestions or?
Yeah, they did have suggestions. We kind of, in the legislative process, we went through maybe adopting the road as an option, but then we realized that wasn't the best idea. Seeing if other universities own their roads, and we kind of had a few good ideas that we want to put into the legislation as well. But now that it's passed, Daniel will sign off on it, put a memorandum into Zeke, and he'll pass it on to President Ross, and hopefully we can get this done.
Okay. Now, with your legislation, it kind of revolves around campus improvement, and Lyle Gay had legislation that passed yesterday too, that his was about improving the campus too.
Yeah, Lyle had some legislation about putting some signs up around campus, and not just normal signs, but I think the idea got sparked from one of the senators, or maybe it was President Brown, was at UCO, and they have big kind of tower type signs that are really nice. They're school colors, and they point you in the direction of the different buildings. Their campus is a little bit bigger than ours, but we don't have anything like that. So if you come on campus and you have no idea where you're at, it's going to be hard to find Cetus or to find Howell Hall. So these kind of signs would help you figure that out.
And I think that Lyle had a really good point that some people brought up that we do have maps. You know, we have maps in our student handbooks, but visitors aren't carrying maps when they come on campus.
Right, visitors don't have the student handbooks like we do, and half the students who are on campus probably don't have their student handbook. I know I don't carry mine around with me when I'm walking around, so even if you have a map, you probably don't have it with you, or if you're a visitor, you certainly don't have one.
It is exciting now to think that the campus is getting so much bigger that we're needing directional signs.
Yeah, I mean, with enrollment being up as much as it is, I remember coming when you and I got here 4 years ago, and how kind of small we felt, and how we saw, all these people who are seniors, and now we're seniors, and it's kind of like I'm really glad to be a part of the university growing like this.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
New legislation to add more parking for the students is in the works. SGA reporter Mitch Watson got the story at this week's meeting.
Parking is becoming a top concern for Cameron students. During daytime hours, many students are complaining that there are not enough parking spaces to accommodate the student body. Senator of the School of Education and Behavioral Sciences, Chad Hagerman, has written new legislation that could be the first step to dealing with the parking issue.
What it is that there's a gravel temporary parking lot behind the science complex and north of the business building that is gravel and temporary. My legislation just calls that it be a permanent parking lot, and that whenever it's done being used for a construction outlet for Bentley Gardens, that it be made into a permanent parking lot by paving it.
The bill passed through the first reading this week, and no major amendments were suggested at the meeting. Senator Hagerman says the bill will most likely enter second reading next week with little to no changes made. He explains where he first got the idea for the new legislation.
The idea that came across was that I saw so much gravel in that parking lot, and I saw a sign that said temporary parking. And I knew that they were currently using it for the construction of Bentley Gardens, and I was worried that as soon as construction ended that they graveled the lot over and use it as parking but not pave it and make it an official parking lot. The only problem with gravel is currently people are double parking, or it's very crowded parking, and it's not the lines are not official of where a parking spot begins and ends. I think that is a dire need for parking spots to be claimed as this is an individual parking spot and that double parking doesn't occur.
The main concern with parking is that many students are forced to park far away from their classes due to lack of parking. The lots that are close to the main buildings on campus are the lot in front of the library and the lot south of the Student Activities Building. The largest lot available, and the lot where many students are forced to park, is on the south end of campus and causes a long walk for many students.
Just to see that commuters are constantly circling parking lots, trying to find parking lots closer to the buildings that they need to get into, that's the main reason why I wrote this bill, is that this would be great parking for the science complex and the business building as well. To see more people coming into these buildings, we definitely need more parking lot.
Legislation for the new parking lot will move into second reading next week, where Senator Hagerman will be available for any additional questions. For This Week in Student Government, this is Mitch Watson reporting.
So parking on campus, it'll go into second reading next meeting?
Yep, goes into second reading next meeting. We're all pretty excited.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. We really appreciate having you.
Yeah, no problem, anytime.
The Black and Gold Committee is in full swing this semester. Paint the Town Black and Gold is an idea that originated in student government of spring of last year as an initiative to increase support from local businesses. So far, over 50 businesses have signed up to participate, and many offer student discounts. Students can check out these businesses at www.cameron.edu/paintthetown. For more information on the Black and Gold campaign, contact Dean Jennifer Holland at 581-2244. That's all the time we have left today. Tune in next week for more news from the Student Government Association. Please be sure to check out CUTV by going on YouTube and searching CUInternetTV. On behalf of everyone here at CUTV and for This Week in SGA, I'm Amanda Finch. Happy dog. Good job. Thanks for coming.